Tyreek Hill will undergo surgery today to repair multiple torn ligaments in his dislocated knee.
If he's on the roster the third day of March, $16 million. But they have an out. They can cut him before then and they won't owe him anything.
Hill's recovery is sure to be an uphill battle.
Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill suffered a dislocated knee and several torn ligaments, including his ACL, on Monday Night Football, ending his 2025 season. My takeaway is this: Tyreek Hill's career is over one way or another. Even if he can play again, I don't see why anybody would want him. The Dolphins are almost certainly going to release him to save $36 million against their cap over the 26 and 27 season. He's most certainly facing a suspension once he is eligible to play again. Remember, the NFL is investigating his wife's accusation that he abused her on 8 separate occasions. To be fair, he could technically get the suspension while he's still injured, which would just affect how he's paid from now until the time that his suspension ends. He'll be 32 by the time next season begins and won't have played a game since week 4 of this season without being able to run for the next several months. And with how much he's slowed down in each of the last 3 seasons, I don't think he'll still have that tool in his tool bag. So what you're left with is a 5'10 receiver with average hands, average speed, can't stop running his mouth, can't stay out of trouble, is known as a bad teammate. There's just not a lot to like about Tyreek Hill on or off the field. And if this is going to be the end of Tyreek Hill's career, let's remember his legacy, his real legacy. Here's a ranking of the top 5 times that Tyreek Hill was a complete asshole. At number 5, that time that Tyreek Hill assaulted an employee of the Hullover Marine Center. On June 18th, 2023, Tyreek Hill slapped an employee at a Miami boat center after getting into some kind of a verbal argument. There's video of the moment Hill slapped the man. Apparently, Hill shouted at him, "I have enough money to buy you and the boat." Cool move, dude. Hill ended up settling with the man out of court to make the charges go away. Always a cool move to brag about your money and slap somebody. At number 4, that time Tyreek Hill refused to acknowledge fathering 2 different children to 2 different women. In December of 2023, Tyreek Hill was sued by Brittany Lackner and Kimberly Kaylee Baker for child support. It took until February of 2024 for Hill to reach a settlement with Lackner and acknowledge that he was the father of her son. In July of 2024, a judge in Broward County, Florida, ruled that Hill was also the father of Baker's daughter. Reports have since surfaced that Tyreek Hill is likely the father of 10 children with 4 different women. At number 3, that time that Tyreek Hill broke a social media influencer's leg. On February 23rd, 2024, Sophie Hall, a plus-size social media influencer, filed a lawsuit against Tyreek Hill for supposedly breaking her leg during a football lesson at his house. According to multiple reports, Tyreek Hill invited Sophie Hall to his house after her son signed up for his camp. Hill's intentions seem pretty clear from the messages, including one where he tells Hall, "I've been known to be a good stepdad." Bottom line, Tyreek Hill wanted to bang her. This became even more evident at a later deposition where Tyreek Hill admitted to having a fetish for tall women. Sophie Hall is 6'1", Tyreek Hill is 5'10". Sophie Hall showed up to Tyreek Hill's mansion to run some drills with him, including an offensive line drill where she apparently pushed Hill back, embarrassing him in front of his mother, sister, and friends. Hill responded by switching their roles and putting Sophie Hall on offense. Hill then bull rushed her hard, really hard, causing her to fall back and break her leg. Hill downplayed the injury, telling Hall all she needed was rest and ice. At the time of this recording, that lawsuit remains open, and the trial is likely not going to happen until 2026. At number 2, that time Tyreek Hill allegedly beat his 3-year-old son. In March of 2019, Tyreek Hill was investigated for battery after an incident that resulted in his 3-year-old son sustaining a broken arm. Police ultimately couldn't prove that Hill was the one who broke his son's arm, and they had to drop the charges. A day later, audio of a phone call between Hill and the mother, Crystal Espinal, surfaced.
He is terrified of you, and you say that he respects you, but it's not respect. It's terrified. He is terrified of you.
You need to be terrified of me too. Dumb. That's why you can't keep.
What a great guy. And the number 1 time that Tyreek Hill was a complete asshole is that time that he assaulted his 20-year-old pregnant girlfriend. While Tyreek Hill was in college at Oklahoma State University, he was arrested for beating his pregnant girlfriend, Crystal Espinal, yes, the same one. According to the police report, after the two got into an argument, Tyreek Hill threw her around, like a rag doll. Yes, that's actually in the police report. Punched her in the face, sat on her, and repeatedly punched her in the stomach. Repeatedly punched his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach. The report also claims that Tyreek Hill choked her. Espinal told the officer that she was 8 weeks pregnant with Hill's child. She went on to say that this wasn't the first time Hill had beaten her. When Hill was arrested, apparently he said he was being arrested for being black while Espinal's white. Yeah, I'm sure that's it. It has nothing to do with the bruises that the officers saw, or the cuts inside of her mouth, or anything like that. It's because Whitey's keeping you down, man. You should be able to beat your pregnant girlfriend if you want to, right? Hill was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to 3 years of probation. Glad that worked, seeing how Hill's estranged wife alleges that he's abused her on 8 separate occasions. That is the top 5 times that Tyreek Hill was a complete asshole. And after going down that list, can society just be done with this guy already? How many women does this dude need to beat before we just lock him up? I know he's rich and it's easy for him to just pay these lawsuits away. But in the meantime, somebody's mother, daughter, sister is getting beat by this fucking asshole. And he's just doing whatever he wants, consequence free. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I was rooting for him to get some kind of a leg injury or for his season to end or anything like that. But it is hard for me to feel sympathy for someone sustaining an injury that they would just as happily have given to somebody else, and not just anyone else, but they'd have no problem causing this type of injury to the mother of their children or mothers of their children, or a social media influencer he wants to fetishize. Bottom line, Tyreek Hill equals asshole. And I think that asshole's career is over. Even if he does come back and plays for somebody, he's not going to be the Tyreek Hill that used to be very dominant, very fast in the league. Not a lot of sympathy for him. Hope he gets better. More importantly, hope that the women he's hurt get better and get the help that they need. Thanks for watching this video. Please remember to like and subscribe to help the channel grow. I'm Seattle Mike on the mic, and I will catch you guys next time.